The Russian sentence "В последние годы мне приходилось нелегко" translates to English as "In recent years, I have had a hard time," or more literally, "In recent years, it hasn't been easy for me." В последние годы, in recent years, мне приходилось equals I had to, it was for me, used idiomatically to mean I experienced or I had to endure. Нелегко, not easy, difficult. The Russian phrase "Но твой мудрый совет всегда помогал мне" translates to English as "But your wise advice has always helped me." No, but твой, your, мудрый совет, wise advice, всегда, always, помогал мне, helped me, perfect past tense, implying it helped repeatedly. The Russian phrase "Я полагаюсь на тебя" translates to "I rely on you" or "I am counting on you" in English. Я, I, полагаюсь, rely, depend. На тебя equals on you. The Russian sentence "Я верю, что ты присмотришь за Неладом и будешь руководить им" translates to English as "I believe that you will look after Nielad and guide him." Breaking it down, "Я верю, что" I believe that. Ты присмотришь за Неладом, you will look after Nielad, literally take care of Nielad, и будешь руководить им, and will guide him or lead him. It's a statement. The sentence "Но в грядущую кровавую годину он уже не сможет следовать твоим советам" is Russian. Translated into English, it means, "But in the coming bloody hour, he will no longer be able to follow your advice." Но, but, в грядущую кровавую годину, in the coming bloody hour, or time, он уже не сможет, he will no longer be able, следовать твоим советам, to follow your advice. It has a dramatic. The Russian sentence, "Мрачные видения встают предо мною" translates into English as "gloomy visions rise before me," or "dark visions appear before me." Мрачные видения, gloomy dark visions, встают, rise, stand up, appear, предо мною, before me, in front of me. It conveys a poetic or ominous feeling, like the speaker is confronted. The Russian sentence "Я вижу, как грозное войско вторгается в Дренайские пределы" translates to English as "I see a formidable army invading the Draenei lands." Breaking it down. "Я вижу, I see," как how or that. In this context, how fits naturally as that is happening. Грозное войско, formidable army or mighty army. Вторгается is invading. В Дренайские пределы, into the Draenei lands territories. It sounds like a line from a fantasy story, probably related to Warcraft. The phrase "Вижу, как бегут в смятении наши воины" is Russian and translates literally to "I see how our warriors are running in confusion," or more naturally, "I see our soldiers fleeing in panic." Breaking it down. Вижу, I see, как, how, бегут, are running. В смятении, in confusion, in panic. Наши воины, our warriors, our soldiers. The tone suggests chaos. The phrase "И вижу, как эти доспехи сияют" is Russian and translates to "And I see how these armors shine." Or more naturally in English, "And I see these armors shining." E equals and, вижу, I see, как. How? Эти доспехи, these armors, сияют equals shine, are shining. It describes someone observing the shining of armors, likely in a. The Russian phrase "притягивая людей к себе и вселяя в них веру" translates to English as attracting people to oneself and instilling faith in them. Breaking it down. Притягивая людей к себе, attracting people to oneself, literally pulling people toward oneself, и вселяя в них веру, and instilling faith in them, literally planting faith in them. It's often used in contexts describing a charismatic person who draws others in and inspires. The Russian phrase «И что же будет потом, государь» translates to «And what will happen next, your majesty?» or «And what will happen after that, your majesty?» Breaking it down, «И and» что же what, then indeed. The particle je adds emphasis like then or actually. Будет will be, will happen. Потом afterwards, later, next. Государь, sovereign, lord, your majesty. Formal address to a ruler. The Russian phrase «Одержим ли мы победу» translates to «Will we achieve victory?» or «Will we win» in English. Одержим, first person plural of одержать, meaning to achieve or to gain, usually used for victory or success. Ли, a particle used to turn a statement into a yes-no question, like will or do in English questions. Мы, we. Победу, victory. Accusative case of победа. So the Russian phrase «Одни победят» literally translates to some will win or only some will win in English. Одни equals some, only some, a few, depending on context. Победят will win, future tense of побеждать, to win, to be victorious. The phrase другие погибнут is Russian and translates to others will perish or the others will die. Другие equals others. Погибнут, will perish, will die. Future tense, third person plural of погибнут. It has a serious. The Russian sentence «Но что, если эти видения лживы» translates to English as «But what if these visions are false?» or «But what if these visions are deceptive?» «Но, but, что, если, what if, эти видения, these visions, лживы, are false, are deceitful?» It's a reflective or skeptical question, The Russian phrase «Что если это обман» translates to «What if this is a scam, fraud, deception?» or «What if this is a trick» in English. Breaking it down, «Что, what?» Если equals if, это this. Обман equals deception, fraud, trick, scam. The phrase «Посланный вам духом хаоса» is Russian and literally translates to «sent to you by the spirit of chaos» or a spirit of chaos sent to you. Breaking it down, послан equals sent, past participle, вам to you, dative case. Духом хаоса by the spirit of chaos, instrumental case. The Russian phrase «Взгляни на доспехи, Derian» translates to «Look at the armor, Derian». Взгляни, look, parative form, telling someone to look. Not at доспехи, armor. Derian, a proper name. The phrase «Бронза по-прежнему сверкала в свете факелов» is Russian and translates to «The bronze still gleamed in the torchlight». Breaking it down, бронза equals bronze, по-прежнему as before. Сверкала, gleamed, sparkled. В свете факелов, in the light of torches. It conveys an image of bronze. The phrase «Но теперь она приобрела какое-то неземное» is Russian and can be translated roughly as «But now it has acquired something otherworldly», or «But now it has taken on some kind of unearthly quality». Breaking it down, теперь, now. Она, it, or she, depends on context, usually refers to a feminine noun. Приобрела, acquired, or gained. Какое-то, some kind of. Неземное, otherworldly. Unearthly, celestial. It's describing something that is. The Russian phrase «призрачное свечение» literally translates to ghostly glow, or ethereal glow in English. Призрачное, ghostly, phantom-like, or ethereal. Свечение, glow, radiance, or luminescence. It's often used to describe a faint, eerie, or The Russian phrase «протяни руку и коснись их» translates to reach out your hand and touch them. Протяни руку, reach out your hand, коснись их, touch them. Literally, make contact with them. It's a straightforward instruction or suggestion. The phrase «приказал король» is Russian and translates to the king commanded or the king ordered. Prikazal, commanded, ordered, past tense kilin. Karol, Wilsel's king. The period. The Russian sentence, Dirian повиновался, translates to, Dirian obeyed. Dirian, a proper name, Dirian. Повиновался, past tense, masculine singular of to obey, повиноваться. So it simply describes. The Russian phrase, рука его прошла сквозь доспехи, literally translates to, his hand passed through the armor. Breaking it down, рука его, his hand, прошла, passed or went through, сквозь, through, доспехи, armor. In context, it usually implies something. The phrase "и он отдернул ее" is Russian and translates literally to, and he pulled her away, or and he jerked her back in English. E equals and, on, he. Отдернул, past tense of отдергивать, meaning to pull back, to jerk, or to withdraw suddenly. Ее equals her. The exact nuance depends on context. It can be a sudden physical movement, like pulling someone out of danger. The Russian phrase "будто обжегшись" literally translates to as if burned, or as if one had been burned. It's usually used figuratively to describe someone who acts cautiously or warily because of a previous negative experience. For example, он к ней подошел, будто обжегшись. He approached her cautiously, as if he had been burned before. So it conveys the idea. The Russian phrase "Что вы сделали с ними, государь" translates to English as "What have you done with them, sire?" or "What did you do to them, your majesty?" Что, what, вы сделали, have you done, did you do, с ними, with them, государь, sovereign, ruler, or a formal address like sire or your majesty. It's a formal or The Russian phrase "Я ничего не делал" literally translates to "I did nothing" or "I didn't do anything." Breaking it down, "Я ничего" was nothing, not anything. Не делал, did not do, past tense, masculine. So a man would say "Я ничего не делал" and a woman would say "Я ничего не делала" because the verb agrees with the speaker's gender in Russian. It's a common way. The phrase "Но во сне мне было обещано" is Russian and translates literally to "but in a dream it was promised to me," or more naturally in English, "but I was promised it in a dream." Breaking it down, "No but во сне, in a dream. Мне, to me. Было обещано, was promised. It's a poetic or reflective way of saying that. The Russian phrase «что доспехи сможет взять только избранный» translates to English as that only the chosen one can take the armor. Breaking it down, что, that, доспехи, armor. Сможет взять, will be able to take, can take. Только, only. Избранный, the chosen one. It's a sentence you might. The Russian sentence «А что, если кто-то другой расколдует доспехи и похитит их» translates to English as but what if someone else breaks the spell on the armor and steals it? Breaking it down. А что если but what if кто-то другой, someone else, расколдует, breaks the spell on, or unenchants, доспехи, armor, и похитит их, and steals them. It's a hypothetical concern about someone else undoing the. The Russian phrase «такое тоже может случиться» literally translates to «that can happen too», or «something like this can happen as well». Такое, this, or something like this. Тоже equals also, too. Может случиться, can happen. It's often used to express. The Russian sentence «однако взгляни туда во мрак» translates to English as «however, look there into the darkness», or more naturally, but look there into the darkness. Однако, but, however, introduces a contrast or draws attention. Взгляни, look, imperative form, telling someone to look. Туда, there, indicates direction. Во мрак, into the darkness. Mrak is a poetic or dramatic word for deep darkness or gloom. It has a somewhat poetic or dramatic tone, like something you might read in literature or hear in a. The phrase «Сановник обернулся» is Russian and literally translates to «the dignitary turned around» or «the official turned around». Sanovnik, an old-fashioned or formal word for a high-ranking official, noble, or dignitary. Обернулся, past tense of to turn around or to look back. So in context, the Russian phrase «увидел за пределами светового круга десятки горящих глаз» literally translates to saw beyond the circle of light dozens of burning eyes. Breaking it down, увидел, saw, past ken, за пределами светового круга, beyond the circle of light. Десятки, dozens. Горящих глаз, burning eyes, or glowing eyes. The word горящих can mean literally burning or metaphorically glowing, shining in the dark. So, the Russian sentence «говорят, что прежде они были людьми» translates to they say that they used to be humans, or it is said that they were once human. Breaking it down, говорят, что they say that, it is said that, прежде, before, formerly, once. Они были людьми, they were humans. It carries a slightly mysterious or folklore-like tone, often used when talking. The phrase «no племена» is Russian. Let's break it down carefully. No, but. Племена, tribes, plural of pleme. So literally, no племена translates as but the tribes. The phrase обитающие в этих местах is Russian and literally translates to обитающие, inhabiting or living in, present participle of обитать, to inhabit, live, в этих местах, in these places. So together it means those inhabiting. The phrase рассказывают о ручье in Russian literally translates to they tell about the stream or people talk about the stream. Breaking it down. Рассказывают, they tell. They are telling, or about. Ручье, stream. Dative case of ручей, which is stream or brook. So in context, it usually means someone is sharing a story, description, or information about a stream. Depending on. The phrase который летом чернеет is Russian and literally translates to which turns black in the summer. Который equals which, that. Летом in the summer. Чернеет turns black, becomes black. So it's The phrase voda v nем как voda is Russian and literally translates to, open quote, the water in it is like water, close quote. The phrase «но если беременная женщина выпьет воды из этого ручья» is Russian and translates to, but if a pregnant woman drinks water from this stream. No, but. If беременная женщина, pregnant woman, выпьет, will drink, water, genitive case, из этого ручья, from this stream. It seems like the beginning of a conditional statement. There's likely more. The Russian sentence «Он отравит плод в ее утробе» translates to English as he will poison the fetus in her womb. Breaking it down, «он» equals he, отравит, will poison, future tense of to poison, плод or fruit in context fetus, в ее утробе equals in her womb. It's a very dark and serious statement. The phrase «рожденных такими женщинами» is Russian and literally translates to born of such women, or born from such women. Breaking it down, рожденных, the past passive participle of родить, to give birth, meaning born. Такими, instrumental case of такой, such, meaning such or like this. Женщинами, instrumental plural of женщина, woman, meaning women. The phrase «надиры оставляют умирать на этой горе» is in Russian. Literally, it translates to the nadirs leave someone something to die on this mountain. Breaking it down, nadiri, nadirs, likely a group or a people, could be fictional or symbolic depending on context. Оставляют, leave. Умирать, to die. На этой горе, on this mountain. So the Russian sentence «очевидно, не все они умирают» translates to obviously, not all of them die. Очевидно, obviously, не все, not all. Они equals they. Умирают equals die. The sentence «Дриан взял факел из кольца и двинулся было во мрак» is Russian. Here's a clear translation and breakdown. Translation: Darian took a torch from the ring and began to move into the darkness. Breakdown: Darian, a proper name. Взял, took, past tense, masculine singular. Факел, torch. Из кольца, from the ring, literally out of the ring. И двинулся and moved, set off. Было, here it functions as a particle indicating that he was about to or began to do something. Во мрак, into the darkness, gloom. So the overall meaning is that the Russian phrase «но король остановил его» translates to «but the king stopped him» in English. «Но» but, король was king, остановил, past tense, masculine singular, его, him. So it's the phrase «не смотри, мой друг» is Russian. Translated into English, it means «don't look, my friend», or «do not look, my friend». «Не смотри», don't look, imperative form of the sma to look, watch. «Мой друг», my friend. It has a somewhat... The Russian phrase Иначе это зрелище будет преследовать тебя до конца твоих дней translates to English as, otherwise, this sight will haunt you for the rest of your days. Breaking it down, иначе, otherwise, это зрелище, this sight, this spectacle, будет преследовать тебя, will haunt, pursue you, до конца твоих дней, until the end of your days, for the rest of your life. It's a dramatic way of warning someone that if they don't act. The phrase "но уверяю тебя" is Russian and translates to "but I assure you" in English. No, but, уверяю, I assuring. Тебя, you. So, in context, it's used when someone wants to emphasize or reassure something, often before giving an explanation or insistence. For example, это может показаться странным, но уверяю тебя, все будет хорошо. This may seem strange, but I assure you, everything will be fine. If you want, The phrase «Верепость этих чудищ не знает предела» is Russian and can be translated into English as «The ferocity of these monsters knows no bounds» or «The savagery of these creatures is limitless». Breaking it down, «Верепость», ferocity, fierceness, savagery, «Их чудищ of these monsters, creatures», «Не знает предела», knows no limits, is boundless. It's a dramatic way to emphasize how extremely fierce or dangerous the creatures are. If you want, The phrase «если кто-либо» is Russian and literally translates to if anyone or if somebody in English. Если кто-либо's anyone, somebody, more formal or indefinite than just кто. It's typically used at the beginning of a conditional sentence. For example, если кто-либо знает ответ, пусть скажет. If anyone knows the answer, let them speak. If you want, I can explain this. The Russian phrase «кроме избранника» literally translates to except for the chosen one, or apart from the chosen one. Кроме equals except, besides, apart from. Избранника, genitive case of избранник meaning chosen one, elect, or favorite, usually male. A sentence, it might mean something like «Все пришли на праздник, кроме избранника». Everyone came to the celebration except for the chosen one. The phrase «явиться сюда» is Russian. Breaking it down, явиться, the future tense of the verb явиться, which means to appear, to come, or to show up. Сюда means here, or to this means here, or to this place. So явиться сюда literally translates to will appear here or will come here. For example, он явится сюда завтра, he will come here tomorrow. If you want, I can also explain the subtle difference. The Russian phrase «они растерзают его на куски» literally translates to «they will tear him to pieces». Они, they, растерзают, will tear apart, future tense, perfective aspect. Его, him, на куски, into pieces. It's a very strong. The Russian phrase «что вы будете делать теперь, государь» translates to English as «what will you do now, sire?» or «what will you do now, your majesty?» Что, what? Вы будете делать, will you do, formal you. Теперь equals now, государь equals sovereign, ruler, sire, or your majesty, an old-fashioned or formal way to address a ruler. The Russian phrase «теперь я прощусь с тобой» translates to «now I will say goodbye to you» or «now I am parting with you» in English. Теперь, now. Я, прощусь, will say goodbye, will part, с тобой, with you. It has a somewhat formal or poetic tone, often used in songs, literature, or heartfelt farewells. If you want, I can also explain the emotion. The Russian phrase «и куда же вы направитесь» translates literally to «and where will you go?» or «and where are you headed?» Breaking it down, «и» equals «and», «куда» equals «where», «же» equals a particle used for emphasis like exactly or then. «Вы», you, formal or plural. Направитесь equals future tense of to head, go, direct oneself, so will go or will head. So the sentence has a slightly formal or literary tone. In natural The Russian phrase "Туда, где никто не знает, что я король" translates to English as "to the place where no one knows that I am a king." Туда, to there, to the place. Где, where. Никто не знает, no one knows, что я король, that I am a king. It has a poetic, somewhat introspective tone, The Russian sentence "На глазах у Дoriana выступили слезы" translates to English as "tears appeared in Dorian's eyes," or more literally, tears welled up in Dorian's eyes. Breaking it down, "На глазах у Doriana," in Dorian's eyes, or before Dorian's eyes, literally, on the eyes of Dorian. Выступили слезы. Tears appeared, welled up. Выступили literally means came out, emerged, and слезы are tears. It's a typical way, in Russian, to describe someone starting to cry. The Russian phrase "И он упал на колени перед Ориеном" translates to "and he felt his knees before Orion" in English. Он, he. Упал на колени equals fell to his knees, literally fell onto the knees, перед, before or in front of. Ориеном, Orion, the instrumental case of a proper name used after перед. The phrase "но король поднял его" is Russian. Literally it translates to "but the king raised him." No, but. Король equals king. Поднял, raised. Past tense. Его, him. The phrase "оставим церемонии, мой друг" is Russian and translates to "let's skip the formalities, my friend," or "let's leave the formalities aside, my friend." Оставим, let's leave, let's skip. Церемонии, ceremonies or formalities. In this context, it refers to social formalities rather than literal ceremonies. Мой друг, my friend. It's a casual. The sentence "простимся как два товарища, и они обнялись" is in Russian and can be translated as "let's say goodbye like two comrades," and they hugged. Here's a breakdown. Простимся, let's person plural, imperative intent. Как два товарища, like two comrades, friends, implying a close, respectful, or sincere friendship. И они обнялись, and they hugged, describes the action following the farewell words. The Russian sentence "и они обнялись" translates to "and they hugged" or "and they embraced" in English. И and они, they, обнялись. Past tense plural, past tense, reflexive verb meaning hugged or embraced each other, where two or more people hugged each other. If you want,